Now, here's Chief Meteorologist Lee Haywood with your Storm Track 3 forecast, brought to you by Saltair Heating and Cooling.
We had some shower and thunderstorm activity over the Cape Fear this afternoon and evening. All of that wet weather has wound its way down. Skies are mostly clear right now. We're looking good. Temperatures are in the low 70s. Rest of the night brings you mainly clear skies. Humidity starts to drop as we move through the overnight as lows drop into the upper 60s and low 70s. Beautiful weather for the next couple of days. We'll talk about those lower humidities coming up. Your news at 11 starts right now.
You're watching WWAY News at 11.
Today, an indictment was unsealed, charging Donald J. Trump with conspiring to defraud the United States, conspiring to disenfranchise voters, and conspiring and attempting to obstruct an official proceeding.
Now on WWAY News at 11, former President Donald Trump indicted for a third time. Parents gather to share their opinions about banning books in New Hanover County schools. And police and community members coming together for National Night Out. Thanks for joining us tonight for WWAY News at 11. I'm Jeff Rivenbark. To ban or not to ban, lots of people coming out to the New Hanover County Board of Education meeting to share their thoughts on banning books and book selection. WWAY Sydney Bushell was at the meeting. She joins us now live in the studio. Sydney, what was the turnout?
Well, Jeff, dozens of people came out to make their voices heard on the topic, both during public comment and ahead of the meeting at a rally.
Let freedom ring!
Parents, students, and members of the community sharing their thoughts on banning books in New Hanover County schools on Tuesday night.
People who want to ban or limit books like to believe there's one way of seeing the world and it's theirs.
You as a Board of Education have every right to be highly selective of the material and curriculum that is used to educate the children in New Hanover County.
The discussion comes after a complaint was filed by a parent about the book stamped Racism, Anti-Racism, and You, which led to the board deciding to hold a hearing to potentially ban the book.
Book banning is not a partisan issue. According to the American Library Association, 71% of all Americans oppose book banning, including 70% of Republicans and 75% of Democrats.
A Let Freedom Read rally was held outside just ahead of the meeting with dozens of people coming out to oppose book banning. 10th grader Hazel Isles says banning books is not helpful for her education.
I believe that I should be able to read what I want and learn about the world around me. And by banning books, we're kind of taking away different parts of our community. This is where we live, this is what's happening, and to shut it out and say it's not happening, it kind of defeats the purpose, and no change would really happen in general if we just ignored problems.
Aubrey Tuell spoke during public comment to share her concerns about the curriculum.
Seeing this completely one-sided anti-American literature and no dissenting viewpoints was very alarming. The best way to get an education is by evaluating different viewpoints and finding the positives and negatives in each one. And it alarms me to see that there was only one viewpoint being pushed in this AP class.
The board did not take action on book banning or book selection. The board has not yet set a date for the hearing on the book stamped Anti-Racism, Racism, and You. Also ahead of tonight's meeting, the board sharing a statement on the finalization of the Michael Kelly settlement. Board Chair Pete Wildeber shared a statement, quote, acknowledging the suffering of the John Doe plaintiffs in the Michael Kelly case. Kelly is a former teacher who is currently in prison for multiple counts of taking indecent liberties with his students. The victims filed a civil suit against the district, which was recently settled. Wildeber says the board hopes the resolution of the case will support the young men in their healing process.
The board agreed to pay the plaintiffs a sum of $5.75 million and to make several non-monetary commitments in exchange for dismissal of claims against the board and release of any and all past, present, or future claims.
The board did not take questions after the statement was shared. The board reached a settlement in the Kelly case in early June, and it was finalized at the end of July. Jeff.
Thank you, Sydney. Wilmington City Council also met tonight, offering a clearer picture of the timeline for transitioning city staff into their new offices at the new northern downtown campus. Last month, the city closed on the purchase of a major piece of property, including the Thermo Fisher building. One of the reasons the city bought the property was to consolidate numerous city departments under one roof. Tonight, City Council approved 5 contracts related to the building's operations, including leasing services, security, housekeeping, an elevator, and HVAC maintenance. The building will be maintained and operated by Thermo Fisher until August 31st, while the city puts building operations staff and procedures in place. And speaking of Thermo Fisher, the family of Henrietta Lacks has reached a settlement with biotechnology company Thermo Fisher for using and profiting off her cells. Lacks' cells were taken without her consent while she was a cancer patient at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore in the 1950s. Her family was joined by their attorneys as they announced the settlement, which came on what would have been her 103rd birthday. The cells from Lack's body became a critical research tool for the development of vaccines and medical treatments to this day. The terms of the agreement are confidential. In more medical news, COVID cases are on the rise again. According to data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, COVID hospitalizations are up 12% nationwide. University of North Carolina infectious disease Dr. David Wall says the summertime surge is likely due to people spending more time indoors.
When it gets really hot, people go indoors. When it gets really cold, people go indoors. And when you're inside, the ventilation's different. People are closer together. So I think that's part of it.
Dr. Wall says there should be a new and better round of COVID shots coming out this fall. Pfizer says it expects its new COVID-19 vaccine to get regulatory approval by the end of the month. The new shot targets the Omicron subvariant XBB.1.5. Pfizer says it has already manufactured the vaccine and is ready to roll it out in September. Things will be a bit different this time, though. This will be the first COVID vaccine made available directly from the manufacturer to the commercial market rather than through the federal government. It's unclear if that will impact its adoption by the public. COVID vaccine rates have been down significantly for some time. Only about 17% of the population got the bivalent booster that became available last year. A number of law enforcement agencies held events this evening to promote engagement between themselves and the community. The Wilmington Police Department held its National Night Out event this evening from 6 to 9 at the Point 14 on Blockbuster Road. The event included free giveaways, music and prizes, as well as meet and greets with officers. Lieutenant Greg Willett says these events aim to improve community engagement.
And I think it's important because it's basically, you just said it right there, it's engaging with the community. It's a positive engagement. We're just out here to meet and greet everybody. It's out, we're doing this too, so neighbors can meet neighbors. And they can come out and see what their tax money pays for, and they can ask us questions and see the human side of us. A lot of us have our own families out here too, so it's a good time. Very positive.
It's not just human officers that attendees got to meet and greet. Canine officers and equine officers were out tonight as well. The community building continued in the southern part of New Hanover County. In Carolina Beach, the police department had a family night at the Boardwalk Gazebo for National Night Out from 6 to 8. There were first responders, free hot dogs, live music, and lots of entertainment. And in Columbus County, Whiteville Police Department held a National Night Out event earlier this evening, advertised as a night of fun for the whole family. It ran from 6 to 9 in the parking lot of City Hall on South Madison Street. The Brunswick County Sheriff's Office is inviting the community to meet and greet and know their new sheriff, Brian Chisholm. Tomorrow, they're hosting a Meet the Sheriff event. You will have the opportunity to meet Sheriff Chisholm as well as other members of the Brunswick County Sheriff's Office. There will also be guided tours of the Sheriff's Office and refreshments. It's happening tomorrow at the Sheriff's Office on 70 Stamp Act Drive in Bolivia from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and again from 5 to 6 p.m. The city of Wilmington says CSX will drop off long spans of rail throughout the city's north end soon to prepare for a future rail maintenance project. The city says the delivery was supposed to happen earlier today, but postponed due to mechanical difficulties. It could happen as early as tomorrow. If it does, drivers should expect a slow-moving train to cause potential delays at railroad crossings at King, 23rd, 30th, Clay, Henry, and Market Streets, as well as Princess Place Drive. Coming up, a federal grand jury indicts former President Donald Trump on felony charges accusing him of trying to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. Plus, another aircraft crash in South Carolina, the second incident in the state this week.
Weather forecast for your Wednesday is looking very nice across all the Cape Fear. Along the beaches, high temperatures should reach the low 80s in the surf and sand. Now, there will be a moderate risk for rip currents on eastern facing beaches. Waves will average 1 to 3 feet and the water temp is in the mid 80s. More on this nice weather pattern for the next couple of days coming up.
Now, here's Chief Meteorologist Lee Haywood with your Storm Track 3 forecast, brought to you by Saltair Heating and Cooling.
All right, take a look at this. NASA and a commercial cargo provider launched the company's 19th resupply mission to the International Space Station from the agency's Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia this evening. The launch happening at 8:31. You might have seen it. This is the view Natasha Johnson Griffin had. This is from Hampstead along the Intercoastal where she shot this, and just fantastic video out there. Love that stuff, and love to see these launches. We did have a full moon this evening, if you happen to have seen it. Full moon, the sturgeon moon, first of 2 super moons for the month of August. And we did have some showers and thunderstorms across the area this afternoon and evening. Now, rainfall amount was about 81/100ths of an inch at ILM. Earlier today, we got to 89 degrees. That was the official high temperature in Wilmington, pretty close to the average this time of year of 90. 89 in Elizabethtown, 88 Whiteville, and 88 as well in Southport. All right, new 3-degree nonprofit for the month of August is the Cape Fear Roller Derby. And for the first day of August, our forecast is 88 degrees. We hit to 89, and so that is $20 more in for them. And tomorrow I'm thinking upper 80s again, and upper 80s will be pretty common, I think, for the rest of the week. And the one nice part about the forecast, humidity values are going to be down. Dew points pretty much running 60 to 65 for the next couple of days. All right, 88 tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, upper 80s Thursday and Friday, around 90 degrees or so as we go into the upcoming weekend. Then next week, I do think that humidity comes back, so it'll get sticky out there for the weekend, and then the temperatures low to mid 90s maybe going into early next week. Mostly clear skies, pretty good evening at the Wilmington International Airport, 72 degrees. Wind is out of the northeast at 6. Dew point is still up there at 70. I do think the dew points drop tonight to the mid 60s, and then we're in the low 60s for dew points on Wednesday. Generally about 60 to 65 for dew points on Thursday, getting back up close to 70 for those dew points on Friday. So a little bit sticky by Friday, and then definitely muggy for the upcoming weekend. Bringing us a drier and stable air is high pressure building down from the Ohio Valley, mid-Atlantic states, northeast, and this is kind of ridging into the Carolinas, bringing that very pleasant air. Rest of the night, mostly clear skies, pleasant temperatures. Look at these gorgeous lows. This time of year, you love to see 60s on the map. 66 in White Oak and White Lake all the way into Burgos, 67 Elizabethtown. I think downtown Wilmington gets to 68, and then low to mid 70s on the coast. You got mostly sunny skies ahead for the day tomorrow, beginning 72, 85 midday, 88 for the afternoon. There's really not a whole lot to show you on Pinpoint Futurecast, which is nice, as we have mainly clear skies tonight, mostly sunny skies tomorrow. There's your high pressure wedge to the north, building down from the Tidewater, Virginia into the Outer Banks. And that brings us to nice weather conditions. 88 in Wilmington, Leland, 89 Elizabethtown, low to mid 80s in the eastern facing beaches, where again there is a moderate risk for rip currents. Be extra careful out there. 86 at North Myrtle Beach and 89 in Bolton. Great news in the tropics. Really nothing expected to develop over the next 7 days. One system that's 600 miles to the southeast of Bermuda, National Hurricane Center, continues to diminish the probability that this develops down to 20% chance. Otherwise, no development for the next 7 days. We have nice weather conditions for tomorrow. Isolated shower, thunderstorm Thursday afternoon, 87 for the high. A little bit more in the way of clouds and a chance for showers on Friday, Jeff. Upcoming weekend, about 90 degrees both Saturday and Sunday. The humidity will be back a little bit, but all in all, next at least 24 to 48 hours. Get out, enjoy, maybe just spend some time out of doors with these humidities. So nice.
Do all the chores you put off for the last several weeks because it was just so hot, right?
And it seems like quite a few weekends we haven't really wanted to get out there because of all the rain, and you shouldn't have to contend with that either.
All right, thank you, Lee. A pilot for the Charleston County Sheriff's Office was injured when his helicopter crashed near Charleston International Airport today. A spokesman for the Sheriff's Office says the crash happened around 3:30 this afternoon. After the pilot reported some type of malfunction in the helicopter. The pilot, who has been with the agency since 2006, suffered non-life-threatening injuries. The National Transportation Safety Board has been called in to investigate what led to that crash. In Washington, Representative David Rouser says more than $21 million in additional funding has been secured for beach renourishment at Wrightsville Beach. Today's decision from the Office of Management and Budget and the Assistant Secretary of the Army for Civil Works means the Wilmington District of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers will receive the funding needed to break ground and cover the full cost of the Wrightsville Beach renourishment project. The beach was heavily damaged by Hurricane Florence. Earlier this summer, the Corps approved an emergency declaration to let the beach continue to use Mason Burr Inlet as its borough site. Former President Donald Trump faces 4 new charges. Ahead on WWAY News at 11, details about the indictment handed down today by the federal grand jury. Earlier this evening, former President Donald Trump was indicted for a 3rd time. This indictment focuses on his alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. As Chris Wynn reports, one of the witnesses the grand jury heard from is a former Trump employee and a current opponent in the 2024 presidential primary.
A grand jury indicting the former president on 4 counts, including conspiracy to defraud the U.S. and to obstruct an official proceeding in the special counsel investigation into efforts to overturn the 2020 election leading up to the January 6th Capitol riot.
We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue and we're going to the Capitol. We're going to try and give them the kind of pride and boldness that they need to take back our country.
The former president lashing out on Truth Social, claiming special counsel Jack Smith is interfering with the 2024 presidential election.
This is harassment. This is election interference.
The attack on our nation's capital on January 6th, 2021 was an unprecedented assault on the seat of American democracy. As described in the indictment, it was fueled by lies.
For months, special prosecutors brought witnesses in front of a grand jury, several of whom appeared under subpoena, ranging from low-level aides to former Vice President Mike Pence as they built their case.
In this case, my office will seek a speedy trial so that our evidence can be tested in court and judged by a jury of citizens. In the meantime, I must emphasize that the indictment is only an allegation and that the defendant must be presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law.
In Washington, I'm Chris Wynn reporting.
Former President Trump also faces dozens of federal criminal charges in Florida over his handling of sensitive documents. And in New York, Manhattan's district attorney has charged Trump in a hush money case the DA claims affected the 2016 election. In other national news, the Emmett Till and Mamie Till Mobley National Monument site was unveiled in Chicago today. It's one of 3 new national monument sites honoring Emmett Till and his mother. This one is at the Southside Chicago church where Till's funeral was held nearly 70 years ago. The 14-year-old was visiting family in Mississippi when he was beaten and shot to death for allegedly whistling to a white woman. Sports is next on WWAY News at 11. A familiar face is back at Scott Braswell Stadium this year as the Vikings prepare for the upcoming football season.
WWAY Sports brought to you by Hughes Brothers Tire and Auto.
We start sports on the gridiron. Preview number 2 of the high school football season brought us to Scott Braswell Stadium. Since I have been working here, Hoggard has finished first every year except last. But they went 8-4 and won a playoff game last year. But that's not enough for them. With a massive senior class, they think they will right the ship on Shipyard.
8-4 was, we felt like we had underachieved. Where that pays off is this team, the way they have attacked this offseason.
Last year, it was just like it put a bad taste in our mouth. It made us hungry. All of us seniors said we're not going to let that happen again this year.
Last year, I feel like we left a lot on the table, so we're out here working hard, getting better every day.
And we're all eager to better what we did from last year.
Last year's 8-4 season and playoff win would satisfy a lot of football programs. Not the Hoggard Vikings. With a whopping 39 seniors, most with varsity playing experience. This year, the expectations are sky high for the school on Shipyard, and the players know it.
Number one goal all season is to win the conference championship, and to be MEC conference champs. And then the goal after that's obviously to win the state championship.
Knock everybody out in conference and then make it to the states. We have a chance to go win the state title this year. I feel like we can do it.
If we keep doing the right things, we could win a state championship.
Always the goal is the state championship, everything we do.
See if we can earn a conference championship, and then you see where it goes from there, you know.
It's hard to say where the strength of the Viking football team is. On the Coastal Preps preseason coaches poll, the Vikings were voted #1 in the conference in both offensive and defensive line, quarterback play, and special teams. Plus, the team was picked to finish first. But Coach Underwood says this team is hungry to go out and prove it.
The way guys worked this morning, there was just incredible energy out here. And as a coach, I mean, that's just a ton of fun when you don't feel like we don't need to be the ones doing that all the time, and that, you know, it needs to be player-led.
We know that we're like a pretty good football team, but like I wouldn't say we're like entitled. Like, we're gonna come out here and work every day, no matter if it's raining, thunderstorming, and we're gonna find a way to work.
The bond that we all have is just unbreakable, and we're just gonna be able to do some great things this year.
On offense, they boast their quality and their quantity of playmakers.
We're stacked, and we have a bunch of depth.
We have weapons everywhere, and like even guys that don't start.
I think we're all just ready to put it out on the field and show what we can do.
There are a lot of playmakers on the field, so we feel comfortable getting the ball to each other.
The Vikings also returned the Defensive Player of the Year.
Bat to pass, but that man Malachi West. Tim, do you know how many sacks he has this year?
I believe that's number 9 on the season now after that one.
That is a lot.
Who received every preseason Player of the Year vote. On top of the top D-line, they also have the #1 voted linebacking core and #2 secondary.
We just ready to work, get this season started.
I didn't ask that you thought was important to mention?
Nah, just know we coming.
Now, with all of those seniors, there's not a lot of room for newcomers with opportunity. Now, he's definitely not a newcomer, but one of the more exciting additions the Viking made, check this out. That is former head coach and athletic director Scott Braswell back in Scott Braswell Stadium. He is volunteering as the offensive line coach for the Vikings. Coach Braswell led the Vikings to a state championship in 2007 and retired in 2015. He's now back in Wilmington, and Coach Underwood, who is of course a former player of Coach Braswell, says it's incredible to have him back.
He's the best football coach I've ever been around, and so just when I heard he was coming back to Wilmington, we got together and were able to talk, and him coming on is just such an asset to the coaching staff and the whole program, you know, wealth of knowledge, and he's such a great communicator with the players. I'm just looking forward to seeing it grow this year as he gets involved.
The Vikings open their season hosting Cleveland. That does it for sports. Back to you.
Thank you, Jake. We're in for more mild weather this week. Up next, Lee's back with a last look at the forecast.
The rest of the night's going to be mostly clear as those temperatures drop into the upper 60s and low 70s. Good looking weather as you head out the door in the morning. 76 degrees at 9 o'clock. Humidity values very nice tomorrow. A lot of sunshine. Temperatures reaching the mid and upper 80s for the afternoon. Inland of the coast, I think along the shoreline of the beaches, you'll see highs generally in the low 80s on the surf zone. A great day tomorrow. 87 Thursday, another good one then. Now the humidity starts to come back on Friday. Still 87, so that is below the average for this time of year. Jeff, maybe some showers and thunderstorms to round out the week on Friday. Same sort of story as we go into the weekend, but hard to believe we flipped the calendar to August today, and it just really doesn't feel too bad out there, does it?
You know, it kind of felt a little bit like fall, and I think tonight and tomorrow morning.
Really, we have 2 nights in a row where a lot of areas in the 60s, and just a real treat for this time of year.
Well, we're loving it. Thank you, Lee. And thank you for staying up with us tonight. We'll see you tomorrow night.